and welcome to the Overtime Podcast of the Rain Route Podcast. We have Rafael in the building.
What up, what up?
We got our co-host, full-time co-host, Maria in the building.
Hello, hello.
Not to mention a special guest, Thais in the building.
Hello. Hello.
Let's get that closer to you. All right. So, we wanted to have a special episode for a author, our first author, on the Rain Route Podcast. So, Thais, you want to let us know a little bit about your book, the name?
Sure, no problem. Well, it's a self-published book that I did. It's called The Unspoken Words of a Scorned Woman.
I'm going to fix that for you. There you go.
So it's basically based off of course, some personal stuff. Just basically how to deal with pain, going through marriage, separation, and not to let it basically let you fall instead of being, I'm nervous.
It's okay. It's okay.
Don't worry, we get
We're all
it.
Okay, good. Just not to let it kind of consume you and start just learn from it. Instead of being depressed all day, let it to kind of push you to better yourself, better your life. Whether you have kids, whether you don't, work on your goals that you have instead of letting the pain kind of direct where your life to go.
Okay.
And just let it push you to be a better you and learn from your experience that you had, from the pain, from the tears, the sad days, turn them into different days.
To grow from it.
Correct, because a lot of women, or just people in general, you use your pain and let it eat you up, and you don't learn from it, and you don't see the actual blessing at times that it can be for you to actually get out of a situation as going through a rough marriage situation, relationship in general wise.
So, what made you decide to write the book?
Well, since I was little, I was growing. I always wrote, so it's always a way for me to kind of let my feelings out, my emotions, not to be criticized because you're being too emotional or too dramatic. And it just kind of was a therapy for me. I decided to actually go ahead and publish it due to one of my sons, which he writes also in school, and kind of gave me the courage as if a teenager that's 12, 13 years old has the courage to really put himself out there and write an essay. What am I doing as a grown-up and teaching my son to be able to do the same thing as well?
So he kind of lit that fire.
Correct. I had already written everything, but it was just sitting on my phone.
Oh, wow.
That's definitely amazing.
Yeah, it was definitely just sitting on my phone. So yes, I got the courage, started searching online for self-publishing book, because it can get overwhelming when you start looking online, because you find all these different articles, which route to go, what online to do. So then I found Amazon, which allows you to kind of do it your way, your speed. You can add on stuff if you want to add on stuff and so forth. So
Is the book on Amazon?
the book is on Amazon, as well as Google Play. I also have personal books myself too. So I have probably over 10 websites they're on right now.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
It's on BarnesandNoble.com. So I had this bunch of stuff. Once you go onto Amazon, it kind of redirects you too. Or even if you go on Google itself and you put the name of the book, it's going to give you different options of where the books can be found.
That's amazing.
So,
Well, yeah, if you go look us up with like the
Yeah,
link at the end,
Yeah, of course.
when I put the video up on YouTube, I'll put the link there.
Awesome.
That way, whoever wants
we'll
to
put it on our
get it,
Instagram as
we'll
well.
put it on our,
I
on our stuff
appreciate it.
as well.
No, the book was amazing. I really read it
Thank
in,
you.
within 20 minutes. And it's absolutely amazing.
Thank you, I
Beautifully
appreciate
written.
it. Thank you.
Honestly, I related to like most of it. I was like, oh my god, I was like, oh wow, this is great. I like this. I'm like, cause half the times, like I know, like us women, we all like most of us, we have problems like expressing ourselves.
Correct.
So I was not able. Like I was sitting, I was like, oh my god, this is word for word how I felt with my breakup. And I was like, okay, this isn't.
You can
I'm
relate.
like, I can relate, and I'm like, okay, well, no one else is like probably feeling. Half the times, like, no one else is feeling what I'm feeling. No one else is feeling stuck in the darkness and everything like that. But this was amazing.
Thank you, I appreciate
No,
it.
of
I mean,
course.
that helped a lot too when I let it out, and I did like a small book signing, like just family, friends, and stuff and everything. I didn't really put it out there too much, just to kind of put it out there. But when I did put the link online on my personal Instagram, I got some feedback from people that you didn't even expect it. And they always said people that support you are usually strangers.
That's
for some
very
odd
true.
reason.
That's very true.
And I got so much feedback from not even just females, like from some men, and it felt so good to know that you're not the only one. To be able to even help even that one person. I remember there was a girl I hadn't seen in like over 10 years, and she came to my book signing. She was like, "Oh my God," she goes, "This is exactly how I felt, but I never actually said it.
Wow, so you were almost like a bridge to getting to a better mental space.
Correct, and that's what I think helps a lot too. Like I had a gentleman that I've always had on social media. Never met him in person, but just have friends on social media or whatever. And he sent a message. He goes, "So I'm going through X, Y, and Z." He goes, "Your book had everything on," and I would literally speak to him every single day after the book.
Oh wow.
Before that, would speak to me once in a while, hi, whatever.
Yeah.
But every single day, he'd be like, "Okay, so I had court with this girl because of what happened and whatever. What do I do? What do I not do?" I was like, "Listen, you need to kind of just take a step back, because if not, a person's gonna take advantage of you,
Of course, yeah.
and a person will only go as far as you allow them to."
Yeah.
That's very
Sorry.
true. So let's get into the name of the book. Why you choose that name out of?
I'll be honest. Me personally, I hate reading. So I think
We
a
spoke
book.
on that, I told you,
Yeah, so I
can't-
think
I don't like to read books.
Yeah, so I think when you have a catchy,
I can read an article, I just can't. Like I can't
Yeah.
sit and read a book.
I
This is the
can't
first
either.
time that I just like.
I can't either. Yeah, and I think if the title
Mm-hmm.
doesn't get you, what's the point of even continue?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I also think, like, I know for me, it depends on the content, like what's actually
In there.
in it.
Yeah, correct.
Because if I'm not digging the content, I'm gonna stop. Like, I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm done with it.
Yeah. But no, yours was pretty
absolutely.
interesting.
So not to throw no one under the bus, but one of the guys was reading. He said, "Damn, this shit sound like me."
First page.
I mean, I got something in the car.
First page, she was like,
Snitching
"Oh my
on
god,
my-
this sounds like me. Are you sure it's not one of my exes?"
He looked at the back of the book like, "Who the hell wrote this?"
But yeah, I can definitely see where they're coming from in terms of that aspect. But if I start reading a book and I get it after the title, and I give it maybe like a
The title is a big thing, right?
So
Like,
I think a title.
pages.
I think if a title gets you, it kind of puts like a bulb in your head, like you get curious.
That's like the
as to
trailer
how-
for a movie in a sense,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
Correct, and then so that's where it goes from there.
Oh, okay, cool. So I had a couple questions.
Sure.
So at what point did you realize you were married to a narcissist?
I mean, I think in the back of my head, I kind of always knew, but because of the way I am personally, I don't like quitting. I hate quitting.
Got it.
So it's like when you invest that much time into somebody and you want it to work so much.
And this was a marriage, right?
Correct.
Okay.
When you put yourself out there and it's like, all right, what are the pros, what are the cons? That's what the relationship is. Do you really just walk away from it and you're like, all right, whatever? And at this point, I already have my other 2 kids.
So you had 2 kids at the time, and that's when you started like feeling these type of ways.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, there was like little stuff in the beginning,
Right, I was gonna ask, how long did you guys know each other before the marriage?
Well,
That plays a big part also.
Yeah.
it does. I knew him for about a year and a half before we got married.
Okay.
It was my first relationship ever living alone. I'm the youngest out of 3, so I was the last one out of my house.
Mhm.
So that was the only guy I've ever lived with
Oh yeah.
to this day.
So everything's brand new.
Yeah, so everything, some of that aspect, I mean, again, little things here and there, but he's like, whatever, it is what it is. It's gonna get better. So a year and a half in, we got married.
You tend to make excuses for him, right? Like, 'cause
I
you
do,
guys
I
have
do.
so much time invested.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like kind of one of those things, looking away or really look what's in front of you. I chose, just for my situation, to look away and just hope for the best at the end of the day.
Okay.
I mean, I was working full-time, 60 hours a week. At this point, I had 3 kids, had a household. So it was a lot to take in. When it comes to relationship and a job, it's bad to compare the 2.
Yeah.
But it's like you're starting a new job again. So now you gotta, if you end it, you gotta kind of, all right, into
Well, there's
people.
time
Get
invested.
me.
That's why.
Correct.
Yeah.
You gotta start all over, get to know the person, their flaws, what you don't like, learn how to live with them. So it's like, it's a process.
It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. It really is. People don't see it like that.
It's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody. I
No,
mean,
it is.
listen,
Shoot, dating at this age
dating
is
is
difficult.
It's
Dating at this age
difficult.
is trash.
Especially with
I'm
kids.
33. It's trash.
It's tough.
It's
Yeah,
tough.
it really is tough. I already had my oldest from my previous relationship when I was 18, so I have an older son. So that's really where it comes from. I think it's just for me when I met him, it was just all right. This is what I want. This is the time frame I want, and I want it by this certain
Oh,
time.
so you had like these.
So
You
like,
had the set mind
so
frame.
I had a set mind
You
frame.
got a plan.
Yeah, I was in the car. I started the car business. I've been there for already. Been in the car business for 11 years. So I started at 22. By 25, I wanted to get married. I didn't have a husband or a boyfriend by that
No,
time.
but that was me. I
Yeah.
was like, listen.
All right,
I'm
this is what I want,
20-something, I
and,
need to be
and you
married.
kind of sit exactly. And you kind of set. I think it's more so too because of society. It's like okay, you gotta
But
be married by a
is
certain
this
age.
society or is it like
I think it's a little bit of
It's
both.
both. Society, I feel like it's society and, you know, social media in the same time.
And you're pressured.
And then you're pressured. You're like, okay, well, I'm about to hit 30. Like, why am I not married yet? I
Mhm.
have all this going on. And it's like,
Correct.
okay, well,
Good job,
Yeah.
good income.
yeah.
Good
but
on your
it's
shoulders.
like,
It's
well,
like, what do you do?
what's going on? Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
like, what's wrong? And then you start thinking, like, what's wrong with me that
Mhm.
I'm not, hello?
Is it
But-
me?
Yeah.
Correct.
so-
And then you start forgiving things that you shouldn't forgive. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You tend to settle.
Yes.
Correct. You do turn to settle, whether it's with trust things or whether it's
Just little things here and there in the relationship.
yeah, 'cause it's like, you know what? He's a good guy, but I'll let this slide.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just accumulates and accumulates. And before you know it, it's like,
It blows up.
So
yeah, it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, what's all this?
When I was reading the book, there was a point in time where you kind of mentioned that he was manipulative at some points.
I think, listen, I'm not saying I was never in love with my ex-husband. I would never say that.
No.
He was great. But at the end of the day, I think within time, I kind of realized what it was really for in terms of how it was coming off, the situation itself.
Well, you mentioned in the book that he became a stranger at one point.
Yeah, because it's like getting home 5 o'clock in the morning,
Wow.
every week. You know
How's
what I
he
mean?
still
Like
alive?
every Thursday. But it's like again, it's little things like that that I forgave.
And you tend to look past.
Correct. And I was just like, you know what, I'm too tired to even argue with you, and then just
You
kind
know
of
what?
push
But
it to the
as
side.
men, if you give him that little bit of leeway, he's gonna keep. You know what I mean? He's gonna
Correct.
keep doing
But
it.
I'm saying,
you know
as
what
long as you let a person will only go as far as you allow them to. So if you allow them to continue to do this, okay, you know, I'll do it again, and then again and again, and it just escalates to get
Yeah,
worse.
if you allow that behavior, regardless whether it's men or women, if
Correct.
you allow
It
that
goes- it goes
behavior,
both
It's
ways.
gonna
Yeah, it
continue.
goes
It's
both
gonna
ways.
continue.
they're gonna. It's
Even
gonna
I dealt with
continue.
And take it longer,
Yeah.
and take it longer
Yeah.
until the person explodes.
Give them an inch and take an arm.
So when was the time frame that you actually decided, like, hey, it's time to?
I mean, I think
Or
I
quits.
felt it little by little. I was physically drained.
Okay.
I was
And
at
that's
that.
tough to have kids and then to deal with that on top of that.
Yeah, I was as probably my complexion was probably as light as a piece of paper. That's how light I was. Like my complexion, like I was taking care of everybody else but
By
myself.
yourself.
Yeah, I mean because I wanted to make sure everything was done in the house, and I wanted to make sure all bills were paid, and I wanted to make sure that everything was done. But I wasn't making sure that I was okay.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like I wouldn't say I changed myself to be with him, but I think my life was his life at the
Yeah,
end
of
of the day.
course, yeah.
Like his family was like my family.
Oh, I know.
I mean,
So
you
it's like-
build that family. You put those
It's
two
the
families
ties,
together.
yeah,
It's
Correct.
It's not
family
easy
ties,
just
and
to.
they're hard to break.
Exactly.
They're completely
I mean,
hard to break.
Because of the way I grew up, I was never really that close to my parents per se. So when his family came along, it was just like so loving and so caring. It's like
So
you
they
kinda
become
and
your,
it's
they
kinda,
become your family.
and it makes it worse. You got me? It makes
No,
it so much worse.
A lot harder.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a kid myself, so when we were going through our breakup, it was like, first thing was like, okay, well, what about the family?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, what do you think? Like, are they going to
Gravitate towards him and believe
exactly
everything.
and then
Mhm.
believe everything what's going on? And it
Did-
tends to be like that.
Did he try like to get in their ear and maybe
I
say
mean,
some
listen.
stuff?
I think at the end of the day, whether I was right or he was wrong or vice versa,
Yeah.
his family is his family. Whether he was wrong, they're still gonna take his
They're
side.
gonna, yep,
Yeah, I
definitely.
mean because I remember, excuse me, I remember an issue I had with him. We had a family event and it was like one of those, his mom getting involved in it. You got me? So it's, I think once you start that and you start putting your family in it, it goes
It's
completely
too
left.
much, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I think
It's complete left.
I think my question, I should have worded it better, was more like with the kids. Like, did he try to like?
Manipulate the
Yeah.
kids. In the
Well, no,
sense
my
when you
kids
guys
were very
separating.
little. I mean, my
Okay.
oldest, he was able to see more because he still has a son from his past relationship. My son was 9, 10 years old when he left, so
Okay.
he had more questions.
Mhm.
My little ones, they're 8 years apart, so they were like 2 and 3 years old.
Oh.
So they're still little, so they don't see the difference.
They're not processing that, right?
No, but
As
at
long
this
as they
age,
get used to it.
oh yeah, at this age they'll ask me, Mommy, why do you not live with Daddy? Now because they're older, but
Right.
because they're so little, which is kind of good and kind of bad in a way, because they don't really.
Because now they're grasping the fact that
Correct.
you guys are together.
Correct.
Exactly.
So that aspect. But in terms of his family, I don't speak to his family like that. I mean, I try to keep it as cordial as possible because they have.
The kids and
Yeah.
That's
correct.
because kids. You gotta be cordial with
And
the kids.
so are they great with the kids? Like, taking away from
Well, yeah, they go with him. Of course, spend some time with him, and I will never take that away from him.
that? No, of
I
course.
think, listen, you can be the worst husband ever. I don't care. As long as you're good with the kids, it is what it is. That's all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah. As long as you're keeping the peace, that's always a good.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's
That's
always
what
great.
matters.
That's good. So how was it when you finally published it and you got the feedback?
When I got the feedback, it actually felt
When
very.
did you publish it?
March. So what are we in?
This year?
November?
Wow.
Oh,
so we're
wow.
freshly like 7 months in.
Yeah.
So we're your first interview then.
Yes. You are my definite first
Oh, look
image.
at that.
You are. I mean, I haven't pushed it too much because I have a lot of other stuff too that I've been going like trying to do and stuff too. Because I'm never always doing just one thing. That's just where I work.
That's a way to cope too.
Yeah.
Keep yourself busy.
I mean, between going to school full time, doing my yoga certification, and then the book, and then my kids. So it's like I haven't put that much focus on it, but I have at the same time.
No, of course.
I mean, I already have the second book finished after this one.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm excited.
And then I have a third one which had got to do with this
Oh,
one.
wow.
So
Okay.
you ready?
Oh, so you
So,
ready
yeah.
already?
Yeah, so I'm just trying to kind of finish what I'm doing now, and then
Ramp up the other one.
yeah, correct.
Got it.
And then finish up this one, and then start the new year with the other one.
So how was the once it was published and you got that feedback? How did you feel? Did you feel like were you overwhelmed? Because when you put yourself out there, you kind of like open yourself up to everything.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like right
absolutely.
now we're talking about a situation that back then you weren't gonna talk about it out in the open like that.
Oh no, of course not. I mean, even when I had the book signing, people were coming up to me, even my own family, cousins that I hadn't seen in years, and they're like, "So, what made you do this?" And I'm like, So it's like, and then they brought friends, and it's like you kind of get nervous.
Right.
I think when you decide to kind of take that step forward and writing a book and
Put
putting
yourself
yourself
on
out
Front
there,
Street.
yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, now this is what comes with it too. So it's like, you know what, it is what it is.
That's almost like with this
That was us.
podcast.
Yeah, that was us. Like we realized it's like we have to talk about our personal
Yeah,
lives.
yeah.
Like I try my best. I don't drop names. Like if I'm speaking about my I don't name too many names, but you gotta talk about because you gotta
Experience.
keep that's the way you gotta keep people interested.
Well, interesting.
So it's like-
you never know what they're going
And
to do.
I went from having my social media was private. I went from having my Instagram private to now it's public.
Oh, mine too.
So now anybody and everybody can follow me.
Mm-hmm.
Which is hard for me because I'm a person, they'll tell you, I'm a person with absolutely no fucking
Yeah,
filter.
me and him are total opposite. I'm
So,
more private.
He's more guarded, I have no filter, I don't care, but I will have no filter with the people I choose to.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I had it
Accept.
private.
As an
That's why I
option.
had it private. But now I have no choice. Everyone's gonna
It's
see
just
everything.
like whatever. it is,
So it's
whatever.
like, if I have an issue with somebody and they don't follow me on social media at first, but now they do, they gonna see if I'm saying something.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Oh, I know that was about me.
Yeah, but now I'm just like whatever, fuck it.
My question: does your ex know that you wrote this?
That's a good
He
question.
found out about I think 2 months ago.
Okay, how was his reaction?
Yeah, what was his
He was like,
That is
oh,
a very good question.
so
I
I
didn't
heard
think of
you
that.
wrote a book. I was like, oh yeah, do you want a copy?
Oh shit.
Eddie.
Did he
I like
read
that
it?
though.
And he was like,
He
I
read
don't know
that
if
shit.
you, I don't know if
As
you
a
read
dude,
it.
you read it.
I mean, that was that day, and then one day he came to drop the kids off, and I was like, oh, here's your book,
Oh, wow.
Oh
and
shit.
that was that.
It's about
That's
you,
amazing.
all of it.
That was that.
He's your
I
biography.
mean, I have some of his, like, I have his sister, a couple of his cousins on my actual social media, which I'm friends with,
Right.
and it's posted on my social media. So I'm pretty sure somebody told you.
No, of course, yeah.
Within
Because
time
I
and stuff
have
and
a
everything.
blog. Like I let Ralph read my
You have
blog.
a blog?
I do.
Yes.
Oh,
That's
we
Her
have
blog
I
is
wanted to do one.
fire.
I wanted to do one, but I didn't know how to start one.
Like my blog.
Talk to your
like,
girl right here.
yeah, I'm literally the queen.
Hold
of
on, you have a blog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a
We gonna
blog.
talk
I
about
knew
it.
that.
We gonna talk about
But like when I was going through my breakup, like I poured my heart and soul at it. Like I was like, okay, like I can't talk to anybody, physically. Like it's just rough. So I just wrote everything, and then I don't know about if you had like some like bad reviews or anything like that, but like I had people coming up to me like, social media is an outlet. Like, what are you doing? Why are you posting up for your business? Like, I'm sitting there, I was like, oh, okay. And I had people like, Ralph or like a couple of my girlfriends like, wow, this is heavy. Like, I didn't know you were going through none of this stuff. It's like, okay, well, things like that are personal. Like, I don't want to
Correct.
badlash like anybody.
So, but when you go through something like that, sometimes you like feel like you're burdening somebody.
Yeah, and that's
With-
how I felt. Like,
Oh, I'm like that too. Like I keep everything inside.
yeah, so I was like, I'm not gonna say it.
That's
so,
how I
like,
am. I don't like to share
Yeah,
because
so
I just
it's
rather
just
I'll
like,
just hold
okay.
myself.
But like with the whole, like that's amazing that you actually sat there and wrote everything. Cause I get nervous like even sending a text message about my feelings. I'm like,
Oh, it's easier for me to actually
I'm
send a
saying-
text message. My text message is like about this long.
like I
Or I'm
just
just
don't know.
or I'm just rude about it. Like I'm just a sarcastic asshole when it comes
Yeah.
to my feelings. I'm like,
For
like
me-
I'm like,
You're
LOL.
sarcastic. I'm
Love
so
it.
sorry.
For me, it's the response. There's days where like I've put my whole feelings out like on a text, regardless who it is, family, friends, or significant other, whatever, and then they respond, and then I'm just like, shit, I don't want to read it because I'll hold off on a few days before I actually
my family,
read it.
absolutely, I don't. I'm like, okay, whatever. This
You
one
just
is. Don't
shoot
read it
off
when
the
you
hip?
read it.
No.
Like my brother got the book too. My sister and stuff, and they're like, oh, okay. And it
It's a
was
good
like,
book though. It's a good read.
but I don't
It's a
ask them the
good read.
feedback because I know how they felt about him.
Right.
So-
and that was my next question.
It's a
Like, how
bias
did
thing.
like if your siblings knew about anything from the jump?
No,
No.
because
wow.
I keep everything to myself. My private life is my private life.
Of
Everything
course.
behind closed doors. You got me? Like there was a point where my mom, she was like, "Is he like beating you or something? Like you're still with him?" And she knew nothing about the actual relationship, just what she actually saw. You get me? Like me coming
Yeah.
home, working, being tired, subbing to everything. I'm like, no, he's not beating me. Why? Why are you asking me that? She goes, because you're still with him.
Yeah, but that's a
And
good
she would
thing.
like literally, she would call my oldest son's father, like, we need to talk to Thais because I don't know why she's not even so and so. And it was like, okay.
No.
I was like, no, like he's not.
Wow.
I was just like, but sometimes again, you take so much from a person, you don't see it to that extent
No, of course.
until it's like,
So-
all right, it's affecting my health, and that's really where it got that.
That's
Where it
very
So
got
that's
that.
that's so what,
That was
just
my
to
breaking
piggyback
point.
off of that. When was the point when you were like, that's it, I gotta let it go?
I'll be honest. It was a day I have no idea what we argued about. It was just any little thing he could drop a pin. It bothered me.
Yeah.
He would.
That's how it
Look
goes
at
when,
me.
once you lose love for somebody, just
It
them
was just
breathing
like,
is bothers
yeah.
you.
It was just like, okay, you know, I can't do this, and it was just a stupid argument. And I was just like, oh, I'm done.
But it was an accumulation of
It was
things.
accumulation, yes. It was accumulation for a few years. We were together overall 5 years. So it's just accumulation of everything. And then one day I was just like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And literally within a month, I was in the hospital, in the need of a blood transfusion because of how bad I let myself go. And I was like, okay, yeah, I can't
So
do
it was
this.
physically draining.
It was, yeah,
Mentally, emotionally.
A little
everything.
bit of everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's why I was just like, I'm done.
So the book helped.
The book did help a lot. What helped a lot too, which might sound crazy, I used to never wear makeup, ever. I started using makeup maybe right after, well, right through the separation. I was just like, I need to kind of get myself back together.
Self-care.
Self-care.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, and that was just like, okay, what? A little lipstick here, a little bit of blush here, and now it's just like, all right, this helped me kind of cover my pain, but also kind of find myself again of who I actually am.
Give you some confidence.
Yeah, so
the beauty of
now-
finding yourself.
Yeah, so now I'm like, if you don't fit into my box, I'm not sure. Goodbye.
So
If
Yeah.
I'm not doing the bullshit. Like, goodbye.
So now your
Yeah.
standards are completely high because you love yourself even more,
So
and that's
correct.
amazing.
Yeah, because a lot of people kind of go from one relationship to another. It's like, no, you need that
That
time.
healing process.
I mean,
is
don't get me
good.
wrong. I've had where I've gotten overwhelmed within that time frame, but it's like, okay, now I take a step back. I can breathe. You know what I mean? At least if I'm stressing now, I'm stressing because of myself or whatever other situation I might be going through. Not a relationship that I'm in that is kind of consuming me and everything about me. And now I have an actual self. Before it was just like
you were
I
surviving.
was him.
with somebody.
Yeah, I was him. Like his life was my life.
Mhm.
I knew nothing else about myself.
So real quick, cause my main concern when we started this podcast, it was my son gonna think about me? Cause I feel that there's a big thing where it's like, he may think that all these jokes are real and they're not. So he knows my sense of humor. So for you, how did you feel like one day they
Like
will
with
be
your
able to pick
oldest,
it up?
how old is your oldest?
Yeah.
My oldest
One day
is-
he'll be able to pick it up and read it.
Yeah, well, my oldest he just turned 16 last week.
Oh wow.
Wow.
So yeah, so he's older. He found out because my nephew told him,
Wow.
my sister's
Just
son,
small, yeah.
and he was like, "Oh, mom, so I heard you published a book." I was like, "Yeah, you want to read it?"
Did he read it?
I don't think so. I'll be honest. I don't think he read it. He's into all that writing stuff too. Like he does theater and stuff too.
Okay.
Oh,
Got
that's
it.
good. Yeah, he's busy.
So yeah. So I
Yeah,
was
we
just
joke
like,
about it all the time.
"Oh
Like,
my
I
god,
know
it's
myself
okay." I was
watching.
like, "You don't have to read it. It's okay. But it's there if you want it."
Yeah.
I don't know
My
what to
family listens. Like my sister and my mom listen religiously. They're like our biggest fans,
That's awesome.
but it's weird for me at first because there was a lot of stuff that like
You were
my
saying
mom didn't know.
Didn't know.
You know, like she didn't know I started going into therapy after my sister passed away last year, so she found that out through the podcast, and she's like,
Wow.
"Wait, she's like, you went to?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like,
It's
"And I still
easier.
do."
It's a lot
It's-
to do.
It
And then
is.
she's like, "Well, why didn't you say anything?" I was like, "Well, only my sister knew." I was like, "I didn't want to burden
Burden
you
you.
with anything
You already have
because
your
you're
pain.
already taking care of yourself." I was like, let me do it myself. And I was like, but I wasn't alone. I was like, I had my sister and I had my best friend. So I'm like, alright though, it's
But
cool.
throughout this process, when you were going through with your ex, did you have anyone to lean on?
Yeah, did you?
How can I put it in a nice way? I've never depended on anybody but myself.
Okay.
Not even in any type of certain way, but because I just don't like sharing my feelings or what I'm going through. Because for me, I mean, I'm still learning now, but for me, it's like being weak. You get me? So I always needed myself to be strong for my kids, for myself. So me kind of giving in the towel and just sitting there crying like a baby, it was just me being weak. But within time, I learned that I need that.
Yeah.
So even me crying myself to sleep, which I've done, of course.
Sure, I did that.
I've done that too.
I've done it.
I mean, it helps. It
It
really does help. But that's when my writing kicks in when I'm by myself and I get you feel that loneliness.
Of
It
course,
really
yeah.
kicks you. Like,
It's hard.
oh, I love being alone. Like,
Yeah.
I would go to dinner by myself to this day.
I'm still learning to go to dinner
It's
by
awesome.
myself.
Yo,
It's
solo
so
dinners. I go to the movies alone.
I do too.
I'm learning.
What?
I go
What
to
was
the
it?
bar.
I think like a month and a half ago,
Oh,
I
wow.
went to Waterside. They're like, why are you going to the Waterside by yourself? I said, why
Oh,
would I
you went
not?
to a water park by yourself?
Waterside
Waterside.
restaurant.
It's a restaurant.
It's a restaurant.
You know
Not a
what I
water
mean?
park.
I probably can't afford that shit.
No, I
And
do the
it's
same
awesome,
thing.
the
Once a
view.
month, I take myself out to eat,
Yes.
and you sit there and like you people watch, or pick up conversation with.
Do you sit at the bar? Or do you sit like at a
Oh
table?
no, at a table. I said a table.
I do either or.
That's fancy.
It depends.
I know, I said a table. If I'm gonna do it, I'm
I
gonna
do
do it all
either
out.
or. I do either or. It depends.
I'm not ready for that.
Oh no, it's awesome. Listen, once you do it, you're like,
Yeah.
it's peaceful.
You
Nobody
got-
bothers you.
I like
You
Nobody
gotta get
touches
into
your
the
food.
self care though. You gotta do
Yeah,
some
I
self
gotta
care,
do
bro.
self-care because
You gotta treat yourself.
I love going to Barnes and Nobles and just sitting there for hours, or just
You
like.
seem like a
Nobody-
Frappuccino
nobody-
chick.
Yeah,
No,
nobody
I'm not
bugs
even in
you.
Starbucks. Like I'm literally sitting in the aisle just with like 7 books around me. All right, like that's
What
it.
am I doing?
What am I doing?
That's
I'm like,
really
okay.
like
But it helps you though.
Yeah.
It helps you. It's
It
good.
does. It's so therapeutic and it's wonderful. Even like sitting in my car for like 5 minutes, I'm like, all right. well, Like I needed this.
Yeah.
So it's like it's beautiful though. It's like the self love is amazing.
I think once you get to that point in your life, in general, with whether you've been through a relationship or not, it's just good for you to be able to know how to be alone and enjoy your own company. It's amazing.
Well, that was my first thing when me and my ex first broke up. I always tell everybody when two people split up and they have kids, the man, he loses the family. The female loses
I never thought
just the
about
husband. So it's different. There's ways of distracting yourself. When you're by yourself, you're by yourself.
You think about everything,
Everything. So
the
that
good, the bad, and it's like, especially the bad, it kind of brings
my
you
first
down.
2 years, I was
Oh my
fucked
God.
up.
I believe it.
So let's talk about your 2 new books so we can wrap
Yeah.
up.
What's next?
Oh
that.
my,
Yeah, that's the first question.
Any
my
names?
second
Can we
one.
get a copy before you
Title.
go?
Yeah.
I want to know the
Sure,
title.
that's fine.
before
Ooh,
The
let's get
title,
titles.
well, the title, I'm still kind of back and forth on for the second one.
Any
The idea I was having was Me Before You.
Oh, I like that.
Damn.
That sounds
That's
like
a
a novel.
that's a title to draw people in.
Draw me in real
That's
quick.
That's gonna be my fantasy team next year. And you say you had a third book? You don't have a name for that one just yet?
Well, no, the third one has nothing to do with these two.
Got it.
It's separate from it.
That's a separate one.
So it's a
That,
different genre?
yeah,
It'll be more
Yeah.
creative.
well, it is still poetry wise, yes, and it's more
The
more
content.
deep.
Yeah, because the content will be
Okay.
different.
How much
Correct,
deeper
it's more
can you
deep.
get?
Well, this one has nothing to do with relationship wise, with an actual marriage or personal relationship. It has to do
Oh,
with
okay, I see what you mean.
yourself.
Oh,
So this one is
That's
called
good.
oh my god, I can't remember now.
It's okay.
It's okay to not be okay, just don't park.
Oh, I need that.
Oh.
I need that. I'm gonna need, we're gonna need that. For, yeah.
So
I
that
say
one,
that all the time. It's okay to not be okay. Like
just
Punk ass.
well,
I'm
the
joking,
terminology
I'm
behind
joking.
the terminology behind that one is it's
Toxic.
okay. Yeah, it's okay to
My
kind of
ego.
give in. Just give in to what you're feeling. Just don't get stuck there. Don't stay there. Don't stay in the state of mind of being depressed.
Don't stay in that moment. Just
Correct.
get out of it.
But allow yourself to feel that pain,
Mhm.
and allow yourself to go through the process. Just make sure that you know how to get out of it at the end of the day.
I agree.
Because if you don't allow yourself to kind of go through the pain that you're going through, whether it's mental illness, anxiety, depression, whatever it is, or that particular moment, then you're never gonna kind of let that pain go, and it's always gonna be
You're gonna bring your
behind it.
past into the future.
Correct. So you kind of just want to let that go. Take a step back. Cry if you need to cry. You know what I mean? Write if you need to write.
Rumor,
Go
don't
for a
cry.
run if you need to go for a run, but at least let it out. But then know how to come back to your goals, to your life, to your significant other, whatever it might be. That kind of puts you in a good state of mind.
I don't think it could have been said any better.
That
That was a
oh my
perfect.
God,
That was a perfect way to just.
Perfect ending.
Yeah, to wrap this up. But once
let's
again,
shout
just tell people where they can like find you and find the book as well.
Yes, of course. So my book, again, you could find it on Amazon. There's an actual additional link where you can go to either Barnes & Noble online. You could be able to also go Google Play, but if you go on Google itself and just put the name of the book, The Unspoken Words of a Scorned Woman, you can have different websites on there.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
Then shout out your Instagram as well.
Oh yeah, my IG is Thais Nina 15. That's ThaisNina 15.
Alright.
And once again, thank you.
Yeah,
guys
once
for
again,
coming
thank
out.
you for
Thank you
coming.
for having
Great
me.
appreciate
You
it.
guys
Thank
are
you. Yeah.
awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
Can't wait
you.
for the next ones.
Yes, literally.